Good afternoon. The Senate Committee on Natural Resources will now come to order. Members and presenters, please remember to mute your microphone when you are not speaking. Will our secretary please proceed to call the roll?
Senator Hansen?
Here.
I'm sorry. Senator Brooks?
Here.
Senator Goycochea?
Here.
Senator Scheibel? Chair Donate?
And I'm here. And let the record reflect that we will mark Vice Chair Scheibel excused for now. Thank you.
I'm here.
Oh, and she's here. Thank you. Welcome everyone to the Senate Committee on Natural Resources. Now, for anyone who has not participated in these virtual legislative meetings yet, I will quickly explain how the virtual committee meetings are being conducted for the 2021 legislative session. As you know, the legislative building is currently closed to the public, so all committee meetings will be held virtually, meaning that committee members, staff, and everyone else will participate either through Zoom video conference or by telephone. However, there are various ways that members of the public can engage with us and participate throughout the process. As in previous sessions, all committee-related information is available on the Nevada Electronic Legislative Information System, commonly referred to as NELIS, which is accessible through the legislature's website. There are four main ways that you can engage with this committee. The first one being registering to participate in the committee meeting through the new system on NELIS, which places you in line to testify on a bill or provide public comment during the meeting. You can also submit written testimony to the committee's email address, share your opinion via the legislature's opinion application on NELIS, and view committee meetings through NELIS or on the legislature's YouTube channel. To testify on a bill or provide public comment during the 2021 legislative session, members of the public must first register for the meeting that you would like to participate in. Committee meetings are listed in several places on NELIS. To register, simply click on the participate button near the meeting date and time, fill out the required information, and you will receive a confirmation screen with the details provided beyond then. Just as a note that while meeting registration is required to participate, it does not guarantee you a spot to speak, and similar to previous sessions, testimony and public comment may be limited due to time constraints. When you are on the phone line, please pay attention to which bill is being considered when bills are listed on the meeting's agenda, and follow the verbal prompts provided by BPS so you know how to unmute yourself. BPS will call you by the last three digits of your phone number. Detailed instructions on participating in committee meetings are listed on the help page listed on every banner on every page of NELIS. And if you ever need any assistance with these processes, or if you'd like to receive electronic notification of the committee's agendas, please feel free to reach out to our committee manager listed on the committee email listed on the agenda. Today, we will be hearing two bills, Senate Bill 112 and Senate Bill 336. First, though, I would like to do a committee introduction of a BDR. Committee members, as you know, pursuant to Joint Standing Rule 14, a majority of the members of the committee must vote to introduce legislation on behalf of the committee. As noted in our Committee Rule 6, committee introductions may be for accommodation only and is not to be construed as approval of a measure. Today, we have one BDR that was requested by the committee, BDR 5824, which revises provisions relating to food policy. With that, I will be willing to take a motion to approve the introduction of BDR 5824.
Move to introduce.
We have an amendment to introduce, a motion to approve by Senator Goycochea. Do we have a seconded?
Second.
Seconded by Senator Brooks. Any discussion on the motion? I don't see none. Will the committee secretary please proceed to call the roll?
Senator Brooks?
Yes.
Senator Goycochea?
Yes.
Senator Hansen?
Yes.
Senator Scheibel?
Yes.
Chair Donate?
And I am a yes. Motion carries. So the bill will now be BDR 5824 will now be introduced. Thank you. Thank you to the committee members. All right, let's go ahead and proceed to our bills. So the first one we'll start with is Senate Bill 112. I will go ahead and open the hearing on Senate Bill 112. This measure exempts certain products for the treatment of domestic animals from regulation under state law. While Senator Hansen's name is on the bill, I believe there is a lineup of presenters, which would include Senator Settlemyer, Trevor Newhouse, Brett Kent, and Mike Hillerby. let's go ahead and give the floor to Senator Hansen to introduce us to this bill.
Thanks, Chair Donati. Yeah, this bill, I know, like I told you before, very little. This was actually done on behalf of Senator Settlemyre because he ran out of BDRs. I was all for it simply because it was reducing some unnecessary regulations. But before I get in any deeper over my head, with your permission, I'd like to turn it over to Senator Settlemyre.
Thank you for that, Senator Hansen, and thank you, Chairman Donati, for hearing the bill today. This issue actually, interesting enough, stems back from my early teens when I was walking around the ranch with my dad, and you walk out in the field and you actually see little baby calves, fetuses, aborted, dead in the field, no hair on them. And as a kid, I'm just sitting here shaking my head going, Dad, what's going on? What's going on with this? And my dad looked at me and he says, well, it's episodic bovine abortion, also known as foothill abortion. And it's like, well, that's terrible. You know, let's vaccinate them. Can't. There's no vaccine. Well, what causes it? Well, it's caused, interesting enough, because UNR was the premier entity, University of Nevada, Reno, for those who don't know that acronym, sorry. It's caused by a deer tick. So deers will come down to an area and they'll jump off of the deer, the tick will, and then they'll jump onto a cow and bite them. And what that does in some cases, and in some herds it's as bad as 40%, it'll cause them at the beginning of the third trimester to abort. And there was no cure for it. But luckily UNR did the research and figured out that it was the deer. Well, just recently, this last year, they finally found a cure, which is great news for those individuals that are in those foothill areas where this is more prevalent. Now, myself, I got out of the rangelands in California, and so I've not really had that type of loss. However, my vet contacted me and said, James, they finally came up with a cure some 40-odd years later in conjunction with University of Nevada, Reno, and Davis. However, the maker's not going to sell it in Nevada. Well, that's crazy. UNR was the premier company who helped bring this about, not company, university helped bring this about. Well, what can we have done? And it ended up being a problem that in the manufacturer's opinion, that they're governed because they are actually a virus serum toxin. And they're governed by the Virus Serum Toxin Act, which states that only the federal government can regulate them, and they're not to be regulated by the state in any way, shape, or form. So this particular substance is completely legal to use in Nevada, but because they weren't licensed by the Board of Pharmacy, because in their opinion, they can't be licensed by them due to preemption on the federal level, they weren't getting a license in Nevada. So that meant, interesting enough, that Nevada veterinarians were literally driving to other states to get this medicine in order to administer it. And that just seems kind of crazy to be basically having our veterinarians spend time on the road to do this, which obviously adds to the cost. But this is also a substance that has to be kept with liquid nitrogen, the same way that Moderna or Pfizer rather is for COVID-19. So having to use tanks with liquid nitrogen to transport this. In discussions with the manufacturer, as well as the Nevada Pharmacy Board, through work with Mr. Hillerby, which I'm pleased to be online as well, we have come up with an amendment that I had forwarded to you, Chairman, and to the rest of the committee. It should be in the exhibits. Proposed Amendment 3142 to Senate Bill 112. And what this seeks to do is to clearly delineate that it is only certain veterinary biologic products which are regulated by the federal government, would not have to continue to follow the protocols as, again, the way it's being interpreted, they're not to be regulated by the state of Nevada because they're regulated by the Federatory Act, which says that only they can be regulated by that. So in that respect, if you want, I can walk through the actual amendment, or it might be wiser to allow other individuals to testify on this matter before we get into questions. But that is, of course, up to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Settlemyre. Let's proceed with your other presenters first before we move to questions. Who would you like to speak first?
I would assume that probably Mr. Hillerby would probably be the best one so that he could, again, talk to the amendment and see if there's any issues and concerns.
Thank you, Senator Settlemyre. Mr. Mike Hillerby, please proceed when you are ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Michael Hillerby with Kempfer Kroll on behalf of the Nevada State Board of Pharmacy. It's MICHAELHILLERBY. I want to thank Senator Settlemyre and Hansen for reaching out when they had the bill and ask us if there was any issues or ways to do that. The board is officially neutral on legislation. We appreciate the opportunity to weigh in and find the best way to craft that. The board had been working with representatives of the manufacturer for some time, looking for a way to acknowledge the federal law and still be consistent with the rest of Nevada law and the Board of Pharmacy's duties. So the amendment, and now amendment to section 1.5 on page 2, explains the U.S. Veterinary Biologics Establishment License process and allows manufacturers that have that qualification to sell into the state for use in livestock those virus serum toxins medications that are covered by that. I would just say it might be helpful for the committee. Nevada has long had a practice of allowing ranchers and dealers in livestock to be able to get the larger quantities of drugs for use on ranches with livestock. That's in NRS 454.301. That dates back to the early 1970s. So it's long been a practice that, again, ranchers with large animal livestock have been able to do their own vaccinations and possess and administer those drugs on their properties, in addition to the ranchers, dealers, and the livestock are able to as well. So our attempt here was to accurately capture the provisions of the federal law, provide an exemption, limited exemption to Nevada law for those drugs and for use in those livestock. The specific references in line 14 of the amendment, and that's in section 1.5 sub 2B, are for essentially cows, sheep, goats, and pigs. And those are the reference in 571, NRS 571.022. Brett Kant, the General Counsel for the Board of Pharmacy, is also here and available to answer questions. If that adequately explains it for the committee, I will stop and we'll stand for any questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hillerby. Senator Settlemyre, did you have anyone else you'd like to present, or are we good to proceed with questions?
I think we're good to presume with questions unless the industry happens to be on the line and wishes to talk at this time. If you would let them, that'd be good. The only thing within the amendment, as I'm looking at it now, I received it earlier today. I think our intention, Mr. Hillerby, under line 14 and 15 was to go 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Unfortunately, 5 was left out. 5 is dealing with ovine species, which is sheep. And in that respect, I think the desire was to have them be in the bill as well. I think it was just an error, potentially.
Mr. Chair, Michael Hillerby, to the Senator's question, we will double check that with your staff and make sure we've got the right references in there.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Senator Settlemyre and Mr. Hillerby. Okay, let's go ahead and proceed with any questions at this time. Do any of the committee members have any questions for this bill? Senator Goycochea.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to either Senator Settlemyre or Mr. Hillerby. Okay, now I understand that you're going to be able to, the company will be able then to bring the product into Nevada. Will they be able to then distribute it with the wholesaler?
Senator Settlemyre, Senator Goycochea, I believe that is the intent. By doing this, will allow them then to go to the wholesaler, who is usually better set up, as me and you've had discussions offline, to deal with the transport sometimes of items that require liquid nitrogen.
Yes, I thank you, Mr. Settlemyre. I was just curious if the Board of Pharmacy was going to have any interaction, or would there be any additional licensure required by the state of Nevada, say with a wholesale company, Pineout, or one of these companies that would in fact carry it.
Mr. Chair, let's see if Mr. Kant from the Board of Pharmacy might be able to answer that question.
Mr. Kant, looks like you're muted, but please proceed when you're ready.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Once again, Brett Kant, BRETT-KNDT, General Counsel to the State Board of Pharmacy. And in answer to the Senator's question, the Board of Pharmacy does license and regulate wholesalers in our state. So to the extent the manufacturer utilizes a wholesaler to ship their product in the state, it would be customary and expected that that wholesaler would have been licensed and regulated by the board.
A follow-up, Mr. Chair, then that ability would be made available to a wholesaler in the state. I just wanted to make sure that they could, in fact, reach out to you, get licensed, and then receive the product.
Thank you for the question, Senator. Once again, Brett Kent in response. Yes, if I'm understanding your follow-up correctly, a licensed wholesaler in Nevada could then work with the manufacturer to distribute the product and for sale in Nevada.
Matt Kent, it's been a long time.
Yes. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you so much for that. Any other questions at this time regarding this bill?
Mr. Chair, it's not quite a question, but my name's Trevor Newhouse, and I'm counsel for the manufacturer that Senator Settlemyer referred to of the bovine abortion drug. And I admit I'm a little confused because we had an amendment brought into the definition, brought it back to domestic animals as opposed to livestock. And I'm prepared to speak on why that's appropriate if the committee would like me to. I also have a lot of background on this bill, the purpose, if the committee wants it. I don't want to waste time, but I am here to answer questions as an expert on this bill and on this on the federal preemption if needed.
Thank you, Mr. Newhouse, for that. I don't see any specific questions, but I'll go ahead and give you the chance to provide some background that wasn't covered yet, in case if you'd like.
Well, I thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you all the members of this committee and all the senators that worked on this bill and their staff. I'm not going to retread ground. I had a presentation, but it sounds like everybody's on the same page. I'm going to jump right into the idea what I got to admit, I'm not sure if you guys are voting on this now or when it's going to happen, but the manufacturer's position is that the term domestic animals should be instated into the bill as opposed to livestock. And we want to use the definition that's in 9 CFR 101.2, which is the statute that defines all of the other material terms already in the amendment, already in the bill. And it seems with that purpose, the reason why it's appropriate is because there's no rational reason to limit categories of animals that receive vaccines that are exempted by this bill. All USDA through the Virus Serum Toxin Act, specifically through APHIS, has authority over all animal vaccines, not just cattle or pigs or anything. And to eliminate certain categories of animals, which is what's being proposed here under the NRS definition of livestock, seems like there's no reason to do that, and it seems like it will put more downstream problems. And so the definition so we propose that the definition of domestic animals be inserted, which is very broad under the 9 CFR 101.2. It says all animals except for man, including swine or including poultry. And that seems reasonable to what this bill is trying to accomplish. I am, like I said, I am here to talk more about if there's any question on whether the federal law does or does not preempt state regulation, or maybe there's a question as why the Department of Agriculture has a little bit of authority to approve or not approve a vaccine. I'm happy to answer those questions if anybody has them, but I am here to put forth that our position as domestic animals is the appropriate term and not livestock. And we have submitted. I did submit a proposed amendment on that topic, and I apologize. I'm a California attorney, so I'm doing my best, but I'm here for that purpose, and I'm here to help illuminate this bill as best as I can. And I appreciate everybody's time.
Thank you, Mr. Newhouse.
Chairman, if I could.
Go ahead, Senator Meyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The concept of the language before you is after submitting the language from the industry and also the language from the pharmacy board to try to find a place of compromise where the pharmacy board felt comfortable with the progression of this bill. And that's what you currently have in front of you as an amendment. If we wish, the body wishes, of course, it's more than welcome to do what it wants. As a chair, you, sir, can do anything you wish. But in that respect, the amendment was meant to be a compromise where it put the pharmacy board at a comfort level, ensuring that it was dealing with livestock, which is consistent with our NRS versus domesticated animals, in relation to the fact that some of these smaller animals that are not obviously large livestock starts to open up potentially a slew of toxins that potentially the pharmacy board was not, nor I was not necessarily comfortable going to that level. So that is what is in front of you, that type of compromise. But again, Mr. Chairman, you're more than willing to do whatever you want.
Thank you, Senator Settlemyer. I have one quick question that it would be helpful to clarify before proceeding forward. I don't know if you would be able to answer this, or Mr. Hillaby. Do we need to explicitly provide, and maybe Mr. Kant as well, do we need to explicitly provide that the board can regulate wholesalers for the products? Is that something that we should be considering as part of the amendment?
This is Senator Settlemyer. Mr. Kant, of course, can answer that better than I can, but in all reality, I believe they already do regulate the wholesalers, and I know that the ones that I deal with are already licensed with the State Board of Pharmacy at this time. But if Mr. Kant could elaborate on that, if I'm wrong, I appreciate that too.
Thank you for the question. Brett Kent for the record. And Senator Settlemyer is correct under current Nevada law and has been the longstanding practice pursuant to that law. Wholesalers are licensed and regulated by the State Board of Pharmacy. The specific statutory citation for that is NRS 639.233.
Thank you, Mr. Kant. Senator Hansen, did you have any questions that you'd like to mention before we proceed to testimony?
No, it was addressed already. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any last minute questions from any of the committee members? Senator Brooks.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just a little turned around. So we are operating solely on proposed amendment 3142. And does that incorporate or negate the earlier amendments that were listed on Nellis, that one is unlabeled and the other one's from Senator Hansen?
This is Senator Settlemyer for the record, Mr. Chairman, if I could address that.
Please proceed.
I was keeping everyone in the committee informed of the amendments as they came up. And then again, I sat down working with the pharmacy board on amendment 3142, which I feel is the best course currently in front of this committee. However, it is, as we all know, with legislation, once you turn it over, it becomes a work product of the committee. And so it's up to you guys. I feel myself that 3142 is the most logical way to proceed forward because it solves the problem, which again, the issue in front of me at least, was the concept of allowing the episodic bovine abortion drug developed in combination with UNR and Davis and IGEA Labs is allowed to be sold in the state of Nevada rather than having our veterinarians having to travel out of state to acquire it. And this amendment accomplishes just that and does open it up a little bit more, but hopefully not so much that it causes any detrimental problems in the state of Nevada.
Thank you, Senator Settlemyer. Senator Brooks, did you want to ask any clarifications or any?
Yeah. So, but in the earlier amendments that were submitted, were those friendly amendments? And does your amendment 3142 feel like it captures those? And so I can just disregard those whatsoever.
This is Senator Settlemyer, through you, Mr. Chairman, to Senator Brooks. Yes, I feel that 3142 is the best acknowledgement and is what I feel combines the desired effect. Maybe it doesn't go as far as the industry, or rather the company may wish to go. And in some respects, I think it actually goes a little further than probably at times the pharmacy board wishes to go. But in that respect, I think we're in a good place. And being a natural resource, I guess you call that dog law, right? Where not everybody's 100% happy.
No, I appreciate you clarifying that for me. I was just trying to track the history of amendment and make sure that we landed where you wanted to land.
Thank you, Senator Brooks and Senator Settlemyer. Any other last minute questions before we proceed to testimony? Okay, I think we are good to go. Let's go ahead and proceed with the testimony. As a reminder, we will be limiting all testifiers to 2 minutes each. Testifiers are encouraged to summarize their positions and submit more comprehensive testimony in writing. BPS, is there anyone on the line wishing to provide support testimony for SB 112 at this time?
Thank you so much, Chair. To testify in support on Senate Bill 112, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits, 245. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alyssa Naveworth. That's capital Nave -WORTH. And I'm here today on behalf of the Veterinary Medical Association. We want to thank Senators Settlemyre and Hansen for working diligently to address both the need for SB 112 and the concerns of the NDMA. We believe, as amended, that this is valuable legislation and are in support of the amended version of SB 112. Thank you and have a great day.
Once again, we are in support testimony on Senate Bill 112. Please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no more callers in support at this time.
Thank you. BPS, is there anyone on the line wishing to provide opposition testimony?
Thank you, Chair. Actually, just as I said that, there is an additional caller that would like to add to support testimony. Would you like to hear that now?
Please proceed.
Thank you so much, Chair. Apologize for the obstruction. Caller with the last 3 digits, 443. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Hello, good afternoon, and thank you. I was actually on hold for the next bill, but this bill came up and I do have an interest in it. I would be totally in support of this bill. We do raise cattle and have been affected by this tick disease. Last year we had, I believe we lost 4 calves. We have a small operation, but we lost 4 calves last year to this tick disease, and that's a huge hit even for somebody like myself. And I forgot, I'm sorry. My name is Jennee, Jennee, Rhodes, RHODES, and I live in Reno, Nevada, and I am in support of passing this bill. Thank you for your time.
Once again, to testify in support on Senate Bill 112, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue if you've recently joined the call. Thank you so much, Chair. There are no more callers in support at this time.
Thank you, BPS. Is there anyone in opposition to this bill?
Thank you so much, Chair. To testify in opposition on Senate Bill 112, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you, BPS. Do we want to wait just a few seconds just in case if anyone wants to hop on for opposition?
Certainly. Certainly. Thank you, Chair. To testify, we are currently in opposition testimony on Senate Bill 112. If you have recently joined the call and would like to testify in opposition, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Thank you so much, Chair. There are no callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you, BPS. And last but not least, is there anyone on the line wishing to provide testimony in neutral on SB 112?
Thank you, Chair. To testify in neutral on Senate Bill 112, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in neutral at this time.
Thank you, BPS. All right. Do I have any last minute comments from either Senator Hansen or Senator Settlemyre at this time? Senator Settlemyre, do you want to go ahead and proceed?
Thank you, Chairman. I greatly appreciate the opportunity. The Cattlemen's Association, through Nina Laxalt, texted me, and they're in another committee. They wanted to lodge their support for it in that respect. And I worked with my veterinarian, Randy Wallstrom, on it. And I even worked with a veterinarian out of Eureka by the name of JJ, funny name, Gokachia, with the bill too. So if it's terribly messed up, we can always just blame them. So that's also the good news. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee, for your time today.
Thank you, Senator Settlemyre. All right. I think we are good to go. So I will now go ahead and close the hearing on SB 112. Just as a reminder, the committee will not be taking any action on this bill today, but it may bring it back for a future work session. Great. All right, let's go ahead and move to our next bill, Senate Bill 336. I will go ahead and open the hearing on Senate Bill 336. This measure revises provisions governing veterinary medicine. I believe we have 3 presenters for SB 336. First, we will, I don't see one presenter. BPS, can we go for on a 2-minute recess really quick?
Absolutely, Chair. Please stand by.
So I just got a note that Senator Keykeeper will be on soon. So let's just go ahead and wait for him so that way. There you go. Perfect. Senator Keykeeper, we're on recess right now. So as long as you're good, we can come back.
Good to go whenever you're ready for me, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, BPS, we're ready when you are.
Thank you, Chair. Please stand by one more. Chair, this is broadcast. You may continue.
Thank you all. Let's go ahead and proceed with Senate Bill 336. As I was mentioning, I will open the hearing on Senate Bill 336. This measure revises provisions governing veterinary medicine. We have 3 presenters for this bill. We have Senator Keykeeper, Nina Laxalt representing the Nevada State Board of Veterinary Medical Examiners, and Jennifer Pedigo, Executive Director of the Nevada State Board of Veterinary Medical Examiners. Senator Keykeeper, please proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Ben Keykeeper. I represent Senate District 16, which is South Washoe County and all of Carson City. Pleasure to be here today before you to present Senate Bill 336, which is a bill that was brought to me by the Board of Veterinary Medical Examiners to update their statutes and hopefully make things a little bit cleaner and easier for them in their authority as regulatory board over veterinary medical examiners. Or the veterinary profession. So I'm going to turn it over to the professionals to present the bill and its contents. I will say, however, that during comment you may hear testimony from Alyssa Nave-Worth, who represents the Veterinary Medical Association. We have been talking with her about a proposed amendment that I would deem friendly if it's brought up. But she's the only person who I've spoken to about potential changes to this bill. So that's where we're at with friendly amendments at this point. So at this point, I would turn it over to Ms. Laxalt to provide an overview of the bill before you.
Thank you, Senator. And Chair, members of the committee, for the record, my name is Nina Laxalt, NEENALAXALT, and I appreciate your letting us bring this bill forward, SB 366. I want to thank Roberta, your committee manager, for helping us and having patience to walk us through this process and helping us to be able to provide our exhibits. I have submitted to you all, and it's on your exhibits for the committee and separately through emails, a summary of the changes that we have been asking for in SB 336 as written. And I'm going to qualify that later on when I'm done going through the 11 changes that we're requesting here. There are 11 changes, as I just said. 1, ensures that specialists that work in Nevada are licensed in the state and are subject to rules and regulations. 2, removes the overly burdensome and outdated provision requiring service of an administrative complaint be posted in the newspaper when correspondence to a license cannot be delivered by certified mail or through a process server. 3, allows the board the latitude to review and, if satisfied with the methods of the organization, approve an organization to evaluate graduates of foreign veterinary programs that were not accredited by the American Veterinary Medical Association, AVMA. It clarifies that a euthanasia technician is not licensed but is registered, establishes a 15-day time limit within which a euthanasia technician must notify the board and the board of pharmacy that he or she is no longer employed as a euthanasia technician within the agency. 6, updates the board's current annual renewal schedule. I'll just leave it at that. It just changes to a biannual. 7, clarifies that a veterinarian or a veterinarian technician must notify the board of a finding of malpractice or negligence. 8, requires that a veterinarian must disclose any financial interest in more than one practice and intends to make a referral to another veterinary practice in which they have financial interest. 9, improves the process by the board to handle complaints. 10, clarifies that there are both licenses and registrations issued by the board and inserts the term registration where needed throughout the statute to align with other provisions for licensees. And 11, repeals sections of the statute which are no longer relevant. Now, I want to tell you that, as Senator Kekeffer said, Elisa Nave-Worth is going to testify on behalf of the Veterinarian Association, and they will be coming in as opposition, and she will have 2 sections of the bill that they had concerns with, and we are working with them. And when Jennifer Pedigo, the executive director, follows up after I testify, she will go through those sections and highlight the sections that we are working with. But I did want to let you know that Alyssa will be testifying in opposition. We are going to take her conceptual amendments to the board on Tuesday. We've requested an emergency board meeting so that we can get their input on the conceptual amendments. So we are working with them. Secondly, I think you're going to hear a lot of opposition to the bill, and I want to clarify some things that I've read on Twitter about opposition to this bill. There are no changes to any scope of practice in this bill whatsoever, and I think there may be concerns that might be misread, that in sections 2 and 3, where there's definitions, I've got to look at it really quickly, I'm sorry, I don't have it right there, to animal chiropractic and animal physical therapy. Those definitions were provided and put in by LCB, and that is to align with some of the terms that were used in the legislation. Now, to give you a background, those definitions in sections 2 and 3 are definitions that we're taking word for word from NACs that have been in the Regulatory Act for more than 15 years. So there are no changes whatsoever by bringing in those definitions. I'm a little concerned that those might be the opposition, that they're misreading that and maybe misrepresenting that the changes that are presented in the bill to describe those two professions or practices may be changing those practices, but in fact they're not. They're just bringing into alignment those definitions that have been in NAC for many, many years. And again, this bill does not make any changes whatsoever to any scope of practice. And with that, I will turn it over to Jennifer Pedigo, and will be available for questions following testimony if you have any. Thank you.
Thank you to the chair and the committee, as well as Senator Settlemyer. I'm sorry, Senator Keycapper. It's been a long session already. So I just wanted to go through section by section to give a little bit of clarification on the sections. So as Nina mentioned, section 2 and 3 brings the definitions from regulations over for animal chiropractic and animal physical therapy. And the reason for that is we are trying to streamline the definition and clarify for licensees and applicant or registrants, which include and is defined later in the bill, just to make conforming changes so that it's clear that registrants and licensees are all under the same requirements and subject to the same treatment. So sections 4 and 5 both add the update the registration and they define registered and registrant, which is, again, that was added by LCB for clarification later in the chapter. We do in section 6 have a list of applicants that are not included in this, which include facility registrations, veterinarians registered with the DEA and Board of Pharmacy for controlled substances, euthanasia technicians who also handle controlled substances, and agencies that employ euthanasia technicians. The reason for that is they are also overseen by Board of Pharmacy and, where applicable, the DEA. In section 7, there's a definition of veterinary tech and training, which is also in regulation and has been a registration status for many years. Section 8 explains the ability for the board to refuse the issuance of a registration for acts that would constitute disciplinary action, which is, again, a conforming change to updating that language, as well as section 9. Now, section 10 is a section which Nina mentioned, Ms. Laxalt mentioned, that we are working with the NVMA to suss out how we can reach an agreement on how this would best be applicable. As currently written, it eliminates an exemption for diplomates, which are specialists, to work for 30 days or fewer without a license in Nevada, and that's within a 12-month period. So we're working on them to make sure we don't restrict the number of specialists that may come into the state and provide vital work. So we are working with them on that. And that's in paragraph 2. Paragraph 1 allows veterinary technicians, licensed veterinary technicians, to administer vaccines for zoonotic diseases under active veterinary supervision, direct supervision. Section 11 removes a requirement regarding the posting of notice of a hearing or action item in a newspaper for 4 consecutive weeks if an individual is not able to be reached by either a process server or certified mail. Section 12 is also a conforming change to the registration language. Section 13 adds a parallel requirement for the oath of the board member that serves on the board that is licensed as a veterinary technician. Section 13 Section 14, 15, and 16 also makes that licensee registrant conforming change. Section 17 adds registrants to those who may have a complaint filed against them, just like any licensee. Section 18 clarifies that the practice of registrations, just like the practice of licensees, so in veterinary field, under the board without any of the registrations is considered unlawful. Section 19 allows the board to review any agency that evaluates it's a kind of a clearinghouse for veterinarians that apply to work in Nevada but have not graduated from an AVMA accredited college. That is also a section we're working on the NVMA with. In section 20, again, we're updating the application requirements to clarify that it includes registrants and licensees. Section 21 requires euthanasia technicians that surrender their license to also notify the Board of Pharmacy as well as the board within 15 days. And the reason for that is euthanasia technicians have the ability, they have a controlled substance registration with the Board of Pharmacy, but that is contingent on them working in an agency which is defined as Humane Society, Regional Animal Services, County Animal Control, those types of agencies. So we thought it was important to update that they report within a specified time frame. Section 22 changes, as Ms. Laxalt explained, the deadline for renewal from December 31st of every year to June 30th of every other year. That's an administrative change to help with efficiency and also to help our licensees who are very busy during Christmas, as are most of us. And I think they'll be really happy with that, as will we. So in section 23, again, we have the same license and registration distinction. And then section 24 requires licensees and registrants to notify the board of any finding of malpractice. We changed that to ensure that it was a finding of malpractice and not just an allegation, so that we can, if needed, act or reach out to any complainants that might be involved. Section 25 makes a similar change as previously mentioned to allow licensed veterinary technicians to administer zoonotic vaccines. 26 and 27 are also similar registrant licensee updates. Section 28 requires the referring veterinarian to disclose any fiduciary interest in a facility to which they may refer a client, and that they make notice that their treatment, the referring veterinarian's treatment, is not contingent on that owner utilizing that service. Sections 29 through 33 make registrant and licensee distinctions to update that language. Section 34 adds the ability for the board to consider complaints within a committee. And the impetus behind that was a due process issue. We wanted to make sure that if a registrant or a licensee was the subject of a complaint and was found to have disciplinary action before a committee, they could then appeal to the remainder of the board if they felt that they would like a hearing. And so that a full hearing. So that was the reason behind that. Sections 35 through 38 through 41 are also registrant and licensee distinctions. And section 42 clarifies the unlicensed penalties for euthanasia technicians and licensed veterinary technicians, as well as registrants. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much to all the presenters, including Ms. Jennifer Pedigo, Senator Keith Jeffer, and Ms. Nina Laxalt. I know there's a lot of content that we just went over right now, so I'll give a few seconds just to let the senators digest, but I know a few of them already have some questions. Looks like Senator Hansen's already unmuted, so go for it.
I'm ready for you, actually, because we're up against the clock. It's already almost 4:30, and we got to leave. And I don't know what's going on with this bill, but all of a sudden my emails blew up, and I don't know, Chair Donati, if you do me a favor and check that opinion poll thing, I want to find out what's going on here. The concerns everybody seemed to have is apparently what LCB put back in the bill. We're going to start licensing people. Apparently, they already are licensed under NAC, but normally NAC has to be based on NRS. So the idea that we're going to start having don't ask me how you do that, but who do chiropractic work on horses are going to have to be licensed now. That's apparently a huge red flag. And the penalties, you're going to put people in jail for popping a horse's back or whatever. That's just crazy to me. So I don't know where that, apparently that was LCB also. I guess the biggest question, what problem are we trying to solve with the horse chiropractic people and the what's the other title? Animal physical therapy people. Have we had issues with them killing horses, or is there some reason that we're going to start making them be licensed and then very aggressively prosecuting them if they don't get licensed properly? Anybody can handle that question.
I'll start really quickly. Appreciate it, Senator Hansen. This is Senator Kiekeffer for the record. So I understand that it's the concern that people have about potentially seeing themselves have to be registered anew. But I think that if you look at what is currently in NAC, the definitions for animal chiropractic and animal physical therapy are already in the administrative code, as is the requirement that if you practice in one of those two areas, that you register with the board. So if there's some assertion that this is going to require people to register now, that's just not the case. So I think that perhaps Ms. Pettigo could speak more specifically to why these practices are required to register, and if there are any specific issues we're fixing. But this doesn't change the requirement for registration.
I got that, Senator Kiekeffer. The question, though, is normally, having served on the Legislative Commission, you have to have an NRS before you have an NAC. And if the NRS currently does not require that kind of licensing, I'm kind of wondering, I think we're looking at it backwards, frankly. I'd rather see us go back to NAC and take those people out unless somebody can show a specific cause that these people are harming animals. Just because people do something doesn't automatically mean we have to license and regulate everything under the sun. So, I know for a fact that when we do license them, the cost for the people that have horses goes up. So anyway.
Yeah, you and I are on the same page on that one. I'm sorry, Ben Kiekeffer for the record. I agree with you. I'm looking for ways to get less regulation in industry. I think the board can speak to that specifically. I will say that oftentimes we empower regulatory boards to promulgate regulations that oversee that are pretty broad to oversee the industries that they have regulatory authority over. So I wouldn't suggest that they didn't have the authority to create these regs in the first place, because my guess is that it's probably in there somewhere. But I can't point to the specific part.
And yeah, thank you.
Ms. Pettigo, I didn't mean to interrupt you. And I know Senator Gokichi has a question. It looks like we might have to take a quick, I don't want to use the word quick because it might be a while. We're going to take a recess between now and around, we'll probably come back at 6 p.m. So to any senators that have questions, we will resume this hearing and come back after we return from the floor. And then at that point in time, we will go ahead and take testimony from any of the callers that are looking to testify on SB 336. So we will go ahead and call for recess right now, and we will continue this conversation.
Chair, you are now unmuted to the broadcast, and you may call your meeting back to order.
Thank you, BPS. And thank you all for all of you joining the Senate Committee on Natural Resources. We left off before recess talking about Senate Bill 336, and we had heard from the presenters, and we are now back resuming to the question and answer period. Before we left, Senator Hansen had a question that he had addressed. We have our legal counsel. Alan, would you like to address anything before we proceed with any further questions?
Thank you, Chair Donate. Alan Amburn for the record. So Senator Hansen was talking about Senate Bill 336, specifically where the regulatory authority was for establishing these specific types of entities. I believe his specific point was animal chiropractic, the practice of animal chiropractic, the practice of animal physical therapy. So NRS 638.070 subsection 2 authorizes the board to adopt a variety of regulations. Specifically, it authorizes the board to adopt regulations concerning alternate veterinary medicine, which includes acupuncture, chiropractic procedure, dentistry, cosmetic surgery, and other types of practices. And so it was that type of authority, regulatory authority, that the board used to establish governance of these types of areas of practice in regulation.
Thank you, Mr. Amburn. Do we have any questions for the committee members for any of the bill presenters? I think Senator Goycochea had a few questions, so whenever you're ready, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'll try and be brief because of the hour. I just want to make sure there's nothing in the bill that requires an animal chiropractor or an animal physical therapist to work under a supervising vet.
This is Senator Keycover for the record. I don't believe so, but I would defer to Ms. Pedigo to answer in the affirmative.
Thank you. Those specific registrants are not required to work under a veterinarian, but in, sorry, I think I, the computer issue. They're not required to work under a veterinarian, but in collaboration with a veterinarian or referral situation, if you will. They are required to share medical records with the referring veterinarian. So it is a collaborative practice. It's not an oversight.
All right, and thank you, ma'am. And then I just want to, make sure and restate, because there has been a flurry of, activity on under Section 10. There's nothing, and again, I think it's very clear that gratuitous work you can help your neighbors, your friends, whatever, as long as you don't charge. That can in fact happen. And then also, if you are the owner or you work for the owner of an animal, again, none of these activities would be, in fact, these are the owners and or an employee can do any of this work. And again, like I say, it's out there. It's something we customarily done, but there's been kind of a flurry. A lot of people thought that this bill was going to ban you from either doing your own work or helping someone else do the work. And I wanted to make sure we got that on the record. There's nothing in the bill that does that, and nothing in the bill that requires a chiropractor or a physical therapist to work under a vet. Work with, I would hope they would, but that's just good medicine. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator Goycochea, for that question. Do we have any other questions from any other committee members before we proceed with testimony? I don't see any, so let's go ahead and proceed with testimony. Before we proceed, I have a quick clarification to Senator Keycover and to Ms. Pedigo. Just to clarify, you will be addressing the concerns that have been brought forward between Section 10 and Section 19 Is that is something that you'll be working to adjust, correct? And section 10, I'm referring to, I believe that's on,
The diplomats.
that's the removal of the diplomat license, and then section 19, I believe, refers to, I think it was like the accreditation from a foreign entity. So just making sure that that's something that you will be addressing.
This is Ben Kiekever for the record, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. We've had discussions with Ms. Naforth, who represents the Veterinary Medical Association, and certainly the proposals that she's bringing forward are friendly to me. And I know that Ms. Pedigo is going to get the opinion of the board before she can take a formal position on them, because the board wouldn't have voted on them yet, so she can't make a statement either way, frankly, because the board hasn't authorized it yet. But from the sponsor's perspective,
And I would just echo that the board is absolutely open to that too. We're going to meet to discuss those changes, but they're absolutely open to that. So.
Great, thank you. And for the record, that was Ms. Jennifer Pedigo for the secretary taking the notes. Okay, thank you for addressing that question. I think we're ready to go ahead and continue on. BPS, as a reminder, we will be limiting all testifiers to 2 minutes each. Testifiers are encouraged to summarize their positions and submit more comprehensive testimony in writing. BPS, is there anyone online wishing to provide support testimony at this time for SB 336?
Thank you, Chair. To testify in support on Senate Bill 336, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in support at this time.
Let's give it a few more seconds. I know that we started a little bit early than what we mentioned the recess time would commence back. So if we can just give it like 30 seconds before we move on.
Certainly, Chair. Thank you. We are currently on support testimony on Senate Bill 336. If you have recently joined the call and would like to testify in support, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in support at this time. However, just as a heads up, the callers are coming back in as I speak. I can say the announcement again if you would like.
Yes, let's do it one more time and then we can proceed forward.
Certainly. Thank you, Chair. As a reminder, we are currently on support testimony on Senate Bill 336. If you have recently joined the call and would like to testify in support, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Thank you, Chair. There are no callers in support at this time.
Thank you, VPS. Next, is there anyone on the line wishing to provide testimony in opposition to SB 336?
Thank you, Chair. To testify in opposition on Senate Bill 336, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits, 067. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Hi, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Thank you for allowing us to speak today. My name is Zach Rhodes. For the record, it's spelled ZACHRHODES. I'm calling as a Nevada horse owner and a certified equine dentist in opposition of Senate Bill 336. I was born and raised in Nevada, been around horses all my life, and I've been in the horse healthcare industry for about 17 years now. I'd like to clarify some things that the vet board is claiming is untrue, which is that this is somehow not changing the Vet Practice Act, when literally in their exhibit it says that it ensures that specialists that work in Nevada are licensed in the state and are subject to the rules and regulations herein. So they're going to further exacerbate a huge problem that we're already facing today with a shortage of large animal veterinarians that provide these services. There are individuals like myself going to equine dentistry school that go to massage therapy school and go and learn how to use PEMF machines and other modalities like that provide a valuable service to horse owners of Nevada. By enacting more restrictions and more regulation and outlawing these people from working, it's only going to further limit access to care while driving up cost and bringing down quality of care. So this would be a huge injustice to the horse owners of Nevada. And to kind of put it into perspective, Nevada already requires 75 out of 102 low-income occupations to be licensed. I did send you guys some stuff that obviously couldn't be put as exhibits, but massage therapists already won lawsuits in Arizona and Tennessee over veterinary boards that tried to outlaw their practice. And while we're on it, I find it funny that the vet board, you know, they're always talking about upping the quality of care or protecting horse owners from other bad people, when in their own statutes, they don't even require their own licensed veterinarians to know anything about massage therapy. So how is that protecting the public? Furthermore, one last thing.
Your 2 minutes are up.
Okay. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
CPS, next caller, please.
Thank you, Chair. Caller with the last 3 digits, 700. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Hi, good evening. This is Anita Chandler. My last name is CHANG-VIGO. I'm the owner of Zen Equine Bodywork based in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I'm calling to oppose the changes, in particular because of the Section 3, which states animal physical therapy means rehabilitation of injuries. And then it talks about the uses of following techniques should now be governed under the regulation requiring service provider to be registered in order to provide services. And I just I have gone through certification courses that's outside vet school and providing services that are not invasive. And while I understand one of the senators had mentioned earlier on the call that this does not require or does not have any impact to any of us providing physical therapy massage services. However, because the amendment to this bill does specifically mention animal physical therapy, I want to make sure that this is not going forward as it is. If it is going forward, I would like to propose that the mentioning of animal physical therapy as well as massage therapy to be removed from the bill before it is being considered for moving forward. These are my main points. Thank you for your time.
Caller with the last 3 digits, 245. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Hi, everyone. For the record, my name is Alyssa Naveworth. I'm here today on behalf of the NVMA. In its current form, the NVMA is opposed to the legislation. Before I outline why, I want the committee to know that we are actively engaged with the Veterinary Board and Senator Kiefer. All of whom have been very gracious and open to our concerns. which we are very grateful. Our first concern is with Section 10 of the legislation. Veterinary specialists that achieve diplomat status have undergone rigorous training and examinations by the various national specialty organizations that govern the profession. These examinations are far more rigorous than the examination for general veterinary licensure in Nevada. With the diplomat license, veterinarians that are operating under license can only perform what their specialty allows. The reason current law was put into place was to increase access for Nevada consumers to nationally certified specialists, as there's a drought of those specialists nationally and here in Nevada. We believe, as currently drafted, Section 10 will have the unintended consequence of decreasing access to specialty veterinary care in Nevada. We respectfully request that Section 10 of the legislation be removed. Our second concern is with Section 19 of the legislation. Veterinarians are trained all over the world. Some foreign veterinary schools are accredited by the AVMA, and some are not. Not all education is equal and has the same standards nationally that have been set to protect consumers. Nationally, to address these disparities in education, the AVMA established the Council on Education of the AVMA and further the Educational Commission for Foreign Veterinary Graduates. Veterinarians that graduate from non-accredited schools must undergo examinations by the council and be issued a certificate of accreditation to meet these national standards. Nevada then incorporated those standards into state law to ensure that those foreign graduates that do come to Nevada to practice veterinary medicine meet the highest standard of veterinary care in the nation. We believe, as drafted, Section 19 would expose Nevada consumers to a lesser standard of care and respectfully request Section 19 of the legislation be removed. Finally, I want to thank again the board and Senator Kieffer for being so gracious to us as we work through these issues.
Caller with the last three digits of 443. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Hello and good evening. I want to thank everybody for your time and for hearing the opposition on this bill. My name is Janae Rhodes. It is spelled JENNEERHODES. First of all, this is all just smoke and mirrors here. It's nothing more than a group of professionals trying to establish a monopoly against well-trained individuals who truly care about the horse's well-being and providing care for them and honing in their skills and doing an excellent job. I, for one, I want to say I don't appreciate Ms. Laxalt's statement in the opening earlier that she said there are so many opponents because we don't understand the bill completely. And I want to say that couldn't be further from the truth. I, for one, as a horse owner and a horse trainer who would be adversely affected by this bill, I understand exactly what's going on here, and I have to believe that all of you will as well, and that you will vote no on SB 336. Thank you again, all of you, for your time.
We are currently in opposition testimony on Senate Bill 336. If you have recently joined the call and would like to testify in opposition, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last three digits of 456. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Hi, my name is Faith Johnson, FAITHJOHNSON. I'd like to start off thanking everyone a lot who are allowing me to speak today. I'm 15 years old and I'm a native Nevadan. I have lived here my entire life. I'm sure just like everyone here, I have nothing but the best intentions on behalf of our Nevada animals, especially our horses. I myself am a horse owner, therefore I understand and recognize how important equine therapy and rehabilitation treatments are to our horses and their well-being and physical health. The equestrian community in Nevada relies a great deal on our trained massage therapists to ensure our horses' performance and health. These massage therapists cannot go out and treat any and everyone without certification. They are skilled professionals who have been through intensive schooling in order to gain this role in our community, which I might add is a very big one. If this bill were passed, it would cause many of these trained professionals to lose their job and source of income. I am deeply concerned with what would happen if this bill were to be passed. Not only would it discard and diminish the hours upon hours of hard work these professionals have worked towards, it seems to me the only people this bill would benefit would be the veterinarians and their practices in order to gain control and limit our rights and freedoms on our choices about our animals. Studies show that over 75,000 residents here in Nevada have horses and or an equine animal, including burros and other animals of the sort. That is roughly 25% of people in Nevada who may be affected by this bill being passed. Being straightforward, this bill does not ensure what is best for Nevada horse owners and their animals, but would solely benefit veterinarians and their practices. So please vote no on this bogus bill that simply draws back us Nevada horse owners. Thank you for your time.
Caller with the last three digits of 679. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good evening. My name is Georgia Vigo, Georgia As well, I'm a 15-year-old Clark County School District student. I am also a horse owner, and horses are very expensive as is, and mine is an athlete and needs intensive care and other things as well. And I think this SB 336 should not be passed because the people who have been working at these trained professionals who have been working at this holistic therapy and other therapies, such as massage therapy, have been trained professionals, certified, gone enduring courses, unlike the veterinarians who may be trained in something else. Although this does benefit veterinarians are also stretched very thin. You have to book an appointment 2 weeks in advance for a lameness issue, and it's seen here that if this is added to them, they might be stretched more thin, so it doesn't benefit vets as well. And I don't even know who benefits. On the consumer side, prices are going to go way up. We're going to have to book a barn call for them to come out, $100 for the barn call. I work 2 part-time jobs to afford horseback riding, and even then I'm stretched thin as well. This is going to be super expensive on my end. And it also affects the people who have been trained professionally doing this for 15 or so years. This is going to affect them drastically. And it's going to totally ruin their jobs here in Nevada. So as a lose-lose-lose situation, I would propose that this bill is not passed and you check a no on SB 336. Thank you.
Caller with the last three digits, 777. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
My name is Abigail Field, ABIGAILFIELD. I am a horse owner and an equine massage therapist in the state of Nevada. I have owned and cared for horses my whole life. I have been in the massage trade for the last year. By passing SB 336, you are taking an owner's right to choose who provides care for their horses. Many horse owners are in rural areas, and their access to good care is already slim. By passing SB 336, it will only continue to limit the availability of care to owners. Lowering the care will lead to lowering the quality of care. Not only will passing SB 336 affect the horses in Nevada, but also every certified equine massage therapist. Many Nevadans, including myself, have put lots of training and time into becoming a skilled massage therapist. Unlike a vet, our whole schooling is based around massage therapy and how it can improve the way a horse moves and works. We have put in many hours learning to perform a safe and beneficial massage. We strive to give each client the best care to each and every client. Many equine trainers also rely on the availability to rehab and perform therapeutic modalities to help improve a horse's body and mind. Many owners do not have the time or knowledge to perform these modalities on their own. Therefore, it is limiting the amount of options a horse owner has to help their horse. Overall, I oppose SB 336. Thank you for your time.
Once again, we are currently in opposition testimony on Senate Bill 336. If you have recently joined the call, and would like to testify in opposition, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no more callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you, BPS. And last but not least, is there anyone wishing to testify in neutral on SB 336?
Thank you.
And just because we started a little bit earlier, I might depending on how this goes, I might entertain anyone else that didn't get the chance to speak. If BPS, if we can check that, if anyone joined late while we're doing this.
Certainly. Thank you, Chair. To testify in neutral on Senate Bill 336, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 359. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Thank you. My name is Nicole Linney. That's spelled Nicollellenney. And I, too, oppose Senate Bill 336. I appreciate you taking the time to let me speak tonight. I've been a Nevada resident for close to 20 years. And our family, we do competitions with rodeo, and our horses are equine athletes. And we, use these other modalities of massage therapy and chiropractic and PEMF and things alike to keep our athletes in top physical condition. Our veterinarians are spread so thin in our area. I have to keep an open relationship with 3 local vets just to try to get an appointment in a reasonable amount of time. Having these types of modalities only being performed by veterinarians is going to spread them so much more thin. Being able to get an appointment to have work done on a horse is going to be next to impossible. This does make the animals suffer. These people that I have used in the past are highly qualified. They are professionals in their field. They are specialists in their field, and they do a wonderful job in making these athletes feel much better. Our training that goes involved in these athletes is tremendous, and it is very costly. Having these modalities only being able to be administered by a veterinarian is going to be counterproductive to the welfare of animals. This type of modalities are not in lieu of proper veterinary care. I am in constant contact with my primary vet regarding lameness issues and such, and even they recommend doing some of these modalities in between visits to ensure that the athletes are being well cared for. I appreciate you taking my statement today. Again, I oppose 336, and I feel that it is a backwards thinking type of bill that's being pushed through the legislature. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Linney, for your comment, and let the record reflect that was opposition. BPS, is there anyone wishing to provide neutral testimony at this time?
Thank you, Chair. We are currently on neutral testimony on Senate Bill 336. If you have recently joined the call and would like to testify in neutral, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no more callers in neutral at this time.
Thank you, BPS. And if anyone watches this recording and you weren't able to join us later at 6 p.m. but were earlier, always feel free to send your written testimony to us and we can share that with the committee members. Okay, Senator Kiekeffer, do you have any last minute remarks before we close this hearing?
Hey, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. I think Senator Goycochea might have something that he wanted to jump in.
Senator Goycochea, would you like to comment really quick?
I really wanted to ask in his closing comments, Senator Kiekeffer, I seem to be missing something here. We've already established on the record that it doesn't require a supervising vet. And so I'm losing something here in what the impact is to these two professions, the chiropractor and the animal therapist, other than, is it just the registration process? And we haven't really touched on that. I don't know, are those fees going to be that exorbitant, or I'm just missing something here?
Yeah, thank you, Senator Goycochea, Senator Ben Kiekeffer, for the record. And I think I am too. So I'm looking at the Nevada Administrative Code 638.780 as it currently exists. And it says that a physical therapist who has been issued a certificate of registration pursuant to this code may practice animal physical therapy only under the direction of a veterinarian licensed in the state who has established a valid veterinarian client-patient relationship concerning the animal receiving the animal physical therapy before it's performed, and if the physical therapy assumes individual liability and quality of the animal physical therapy performed. So if the insinuation is that now physical therapists are going to have to work in consultation with the vet, they already do according to existing NAC. And if people are not practicing that way, then they should check out Nevada Administrative Code 638.780. The same is true for chiropractic, the definitions and scopes of practice that are in NAC 638. So I must be missing exactly what they're referring to. There wasn't a direct point to which provision of this bill is changing that. Nothing that I have read in this bill changes the current relationship between these professions and their clients and their patient animals, and the need to work in consultation with a vet, because that's currently how it's supposed to be done under NAC. If that's not how it's being done, then I cannot speak to that. But if someone can point specifically to how it makes those changes via email, I'd love to read it, because I haven't seen the specific change that's getting everyone concerned. So I'm sorry I can't answer your question more specifically.
Thank you. And just a quick follow-up, Mr. Chair, if I may, to the senator. I thought we established on the record that it didn't require a supervising veterinarian. And if I missed that, if that's not what we said, then I definitely want to go back and look at the bill too.
Yeah, thank you, Ben Kiekeffer, for the record. I think there's a difference between a supervising veterinarian, right, or under the direction, and what is currently in NAC, which says only under the direction of a veterinarian licensed in the state. So that's current standard. So it doesn't change current standard based on what is already in the NAC.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Kiekeffer, did you have any other remarks that you'd like to mention before we close the hearing?
No, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the time, and if there are specific suggestions from those who have expressed their concern that this bill is going to affect them in an unintended manner, I'd be all ears to hear their suggested changes to address that. And otherwise, I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Senator, for those remarks. Okay, at this time, I will go ahead and close the hearing on SB 336. The committee will not be taking any action on SB 336 today, but it may bring it back for a future work session. Let's go ahead and go to public comment. Please remember to limit your comments to 2 minutes. BPS staff, is there anyone wishing to provide public comment at this time?
Thank you so much, Chair. We are currently on public comment. If you have recently joined the call and would like to provide public comment, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Well, Chair, the public line is open and working, and there are no public comment callers at this time.
Thank you, BPS. Members, any last minute comments or questions before we end? I don't see none. All right. Our next meeting is on Tuesday, March 30th at 4 p.m. Please note the time change. It's going to start at 4 p.m. We are starting 30 minutes later next Tuesday only. With that, meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Have a good night.